Agricola. The year is 1670 AD and it is the perfect time in Europe for growing your farmland. And as Jeremy Clarkson once said, how difficult can that be? In this game, you and your partner are trying to expand your farm and diversify as well as possible to earn some victory points. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, let's get straight in to setting up. You'll need to start by setting up the game board. For a two-player game, you'll need this part on the side that has 2 players in the symbol down there. For a 3-player game, you instead take this off and put this piece on in its place. That again has the 3-player symbol. And for 4 players, you guessed it, it's the one with 4 players. Also, if you're playing solo, it's the one that has 2 players. Basically what this does is when you're playing at a higher player count, you've got more places where you can go and get resources because there's more players. Next, you'll notice these green cards, they have numbers on the back of them. What you want to do is separate them into piles, so you've got all the 1s together, all the 2s, all the 3s, 4s, 5s, and the 6 on its own. Shuffle those individually and then place them out as shown. So the 1s are in these positions, the 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and the 6 is at the end, etc. Next, you'll need to prepare the major upgrades, the minor upgrades, and the occupations. The major upgrades are these cards with the red backgrounds, and they are red on the back. The 10 of them go onto this board in the positions that are shown on the board. It's always these 10, they're always in these positions. The occupations are these cards with the yellow background, they're slightly yellower, and the minor upgrades are these orangey ones. What you're going to want to do is go through the deck of occupations and then see where it says 1+ there. That means you can use this for all player counts. If you're playing a 2-player game, for example, take out all the ones that say 3+ and 4+. Then what you're going to do is you're going to hand 7 of these and 7 of these to each player. There are different ways that people do this. What I normally do is I simply give each player 7 off the top and 7 off the top from here. However, some people prefer to have a little bit more control over which cards they have in their hand, so some people give each player 10 of them and then you get to keep 7. Some people do a whole drafting system if you've got all the time in the world. Do that any way you like, but the simplest is just 7 off the top of each pile. Then prepare a little mountain of resources by the side of the board. You'll need these as the game goes on. And then finally hand each player a player board. This represents your own individual farm. You also get 2 meeples in the same colour, which start in the house in the corner. Also, each player gets the meeples, the stables, and the 15 fence tokens in the corresponding colour. These are then my own personal supply that I can purchase. And at that point, you're set up and ready to go. What you're going to be doing each round is you start each round by revealing the next card of these green ones that you've placed out here. That basically is another place where people can go and get resources. Agricola is what's known as a worker placement game. So what's going to happen after we've restocked the market and refilled all the resources everywhere is players in turn are going to be taking their meeples, going to a particular place, and then getting the resources that are over there. And then there are other cards that come later on where you can basically use these resources for building things or for upgrading your house and things like that. Let's have another look at that in a bit more detail. So it's the start of a new round. We've revealed the new round card and we've refilled the resources in these positions. The resource positions that have the arrows are accumulative, which means that at the end of this round, if nobody has taken the clay here, for example, then we would simply put another clay there. And then in the next round, if you go there, you're going to get both clays. You'll have to excuse, by the way, that this is written in Swedish. I do hope that's okay. It's exactly the same in every language, and I'll translate things where necessary. But at this stage, yeah, players are basically going to take it in turns to say, okay, I quite fancy the wood over here, so I'm going to place my meeple there, and then take these 3 wood over to my personal supply. Then nobody else can collect wood from this place in this round. As I said, when everybody's done that, what we're going to do is these guys return back to the home, and then at the start of a new round, we reveal a new card, and then we place more resources out. So we would then need 3 wood over here, and in this case clay and reed and another food token over here. So you'll notice these are accumulative. So in the second round, if somebody was to go over here, they would get both of the reed tokens that are currently in that position. You'll notice that the cards have got different numbers on the backs. When we get to the end of, in this case, the number 1s, then we are at harvest time, which means that after every worker has been placed this turn, then the workers are going to need to eat. Each worker wants 2 food, so by that time you better have collected 2 of these food tokens for each of your workers. But you don't just get food through picking up food from these kinds of places. You can also use different ways to make food. For example, if you have a major upgrade that is this type of oven, then you could turn some sheep, vegetables, pigs or cows, or even some corn into food if you use the baking bread action. And yeah, you can basically then turn this sheep, put it straight in the oven, and then turn it, in this case, into 2 food. As I said, each worker wants 2 food, so if you have your starting 2 workers, that means that by the end of this round here, you then need 4 food. If at any point you don't have enough food to feed your family, then you are going to take what's known as a begging token. This is very, very bad because at the end of the game, each begging token you have taken is worth -3 points. And that's quite a lot in a game like Agricola. So make sure that you have enough food and make sure that you have ways of feeding your workers. And fundamentally there, gang, the overhead of rules really is that simple. What you're going to be doing on your turn is taking your little worker dude, going to a place that's available on the market, and then either taking the resource or performing the action of that place where you've just placed your meeple. And it really kind of is that simple. Although I say that, actually performing these things and making sure that you have enough food at the end of at harvest and then growing your farm at the same time is really far from simple. So what is it you actually have to be doing in order to do those things? Well, there are 3 basic paths that you can go down, and the point system in this game benefits the people who diversify between those 3 strategies. So let's have a little look at those in turn. One path you can go down is animal husbandry. What you'll need to do then is go here to collect some wood, and then when you have enough wood, then you're able to go here, and you can then turn the wood into fences. In this case, I've got 6 wood, so I can pay these back to the supply, and then I can take 6 of these blue wooden fences. I then build them on my farm like this, and I then have an enclosed capture fence system, which I can put some animals in. Each space then gets 2 animals, so this could hold a total of 4 animals. Do note that when you build these, they have to be fully enclosed. I wouldn't be able to build it something like that and think, well, I can extend it later. It has to be completely enclosed when you finish building it. Then when you have a pasture like this, you would be able to go, next turn in this case, because I've only got 2 of these, but you'd be able to go to a place like this and pick up the 2 sheep that are there. This is a particularly good thing to do, primarily because, as I said before, if you have an oven, you can actually use it to cook the sheep and turn them into food, but also because when you're at harvest, these 2 sheep are then going to breed, and so long as you have space for it, they will get you another sheep. Do note, though, that baby sheep that have only just been produced or parent sheep can't go straight in the oven. That's unethical and not really allowed according to the rules. I say that you can have 2 sheep per square in the enclosure. That is a little bit extended if you're able to put one of your dudes over here, and then you can pay 2 wood to build one of these stables. If you have one of these stables in the enclosed pasture, then that basically doubles how many sheep you can have in here. So at the moment, with one of these here, you can have 8 sheep in this area. And if I were to actually build another one of these, I'd then be able to have 16 sheep in this tiny little space. If you haven't bought any of these fences, then you can still have animals. If you have one of these stables, you can put it there and they can hold exactly one sheep. You can also have any one pet within your house. Another path you can go down is the home expansion and improvement track. If you were to place one of your meeples over here, then you can spend, in this case I've got a wooden house, so I'd be able to spend 5 wood and 2 reed to build an extra room. This is very important because later on this card becomes available, and basically what that means is that you get another worker. However, when this card is available, you need to first have room to put them in. You can't have the third worker when you only have a 2-room house. So you can expand your house by doing that, and you're also able, the advantage of doing that, of course, is that you get a third worker who can get put to work straight away, but do be wary because this new worker is then, of course, going to be hungry. So again, make sure that you have enough food for them. Apart from expanding your house, you can also change the material that it is. So over here, you can pay 1 reed, and then in this case, I've got 3 rooms, so I'd be able to pay 3 clay. If I had that, then I would be able to pay it, and then I've basically upgraded my house to a clay house, which is worth more points at the end of the game. And then following on from that, you can upgrade from clay to a stone house as well. And the third path you can go down is maybe more what you think of when you think of traditional farming. It's basically ploughing fields and working with crops. What you'd need to do then, if you go to a place like this, that allows you to plough one of these squares, which means that later on you can plant some crops in it. What you'd need to do then is you'd need to get some seeds in order to plant. So if you go here, you get one of these corn seeds. Later on in the game, this vegetable seed is then available as well. So over there, you would get an orange vegetable seed. When you have an empty bit of land and you have a seed, corn or vegetables, then you can go to this place here or a place similar to it and then basically plant it, as simple as that. When you plant corn, what you do is you put it on and then you get 2 more from the general supply and put it on top. And this is really good because at the end of, at harvest, when you get to the end of one of these columns, then you take this off and it goes back into your general supply. And you can then use this corn in order to either eat it, which is especially fruitful if you have an oven and you're taking the baked bread action, but you could also use it if you have empty fields. You could use it to go back here and then plough again without needing to go and get more seeds. I say that you place 3 on top of each other. That is true when it is corn seeds that you're planting. If you are planting vegetables, then you simply put 1 on top instead of 2. And there you go. So to recap, you start each round by revealing the new round card. You then restock all of the accumulative places. And then in turn, players are going to take these and then go to places on the market, either to take the resources that are there or to perform the action that that space specifies. There are 3 basic paths that you can go down. Animal husbandry, growing some animals so that you can have lots of animals on your farm and probably turn them into food. You could do traditional crops where you basically grow stuff so that, again, you can turn it into food. And then there's focusing on the house, expanding it and changing it into a better material. But as I said, the point scoring system, which is over on the side, very much benefits players who diversify, and rather than going all in for one of these directions, you go for a little bit of everything. Then when you get to the end of one of these columns, it is time for harvest. And a couple of things happen there. You have to feed your family. The animals that you have, if you have 2 of the same type, they are going to breed. And also the fields that you have are going to be harvested as well. If you can't feed your family, then you take some beggar tokens, and they are very, very bad. But yeah, fundamentally, that is as simple as the game is. Again, I say that actually doing those things isn't simple at all. This is the type of game where you're allowed to do 2 or 3 things, but you want to do about 10 things, so you have to really, really prioritize. I'd love to know what you guys think about Agricola. I have a review video coming next week, so do subscribe so that you don't miss that one. And yeah, I would love to hear what you think about the game. But yeah, in the meantime, take care, goodbye, and I shall see you in the next one. Goodbye.